Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. So today, we're going to be talking about, sorry, that lighting looks rather, turn these, it looks a bit better. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about spending on yourself, and why I think it's really important to do. Like we live in a society in the UK where any spending is seen as very, like, we're really careful to not spend very much money, like, if we can avoid it. And obviously this has been sort of exacerbated with justification, obviously, with the cost of living crisis, like, people are more careful than ever. But I want to make the case for investing in yourself, and sort of the basic message that I want you guys to take on, that I've sort of taken on recently, that's really paid off, is if you're not going to bankrupt yourself by making an investment in yourself, then it's usually a good idea. It's the kind of thing I spent a lot of money on myself recently, and by, I mean kind of like, not so much self-indulgent things, but like stuff that's going to improve me on my sort of self-development, so stuff like books. Today I went to the Sainsbury's in the nearby, and I bought just like these razors and I need an electric toothbrush. Like, I've got a manual one, but there's a little bit in the back of my teeth where food keeps getting stuck, and I need like a sort of electric toothbrush to help clean it properly, because otherwise it's going to get infected and I'm going to have to get it removed. Anyway, so I got all this stuff, and I was kind of going to checkout, and I thought, you know, is this really worth it? You know, 30 quid for all this stuff, that's quite a lot. But then I thought, no, what am I on about? Like, this is really, of course I need to spend money on this stuff, you know. Like, my teeth, you know, if one of them gets infected because I haven't looked after them, or not infected, but you know what I mean. If one of them decays because I haven't looked after it properly, and that's it, I'm never going to get it back. 30 quid for an electric toothbrush to stop that from happening, absolute, you know, go for it, like, you know, and similarly, like, a lot of these books that I bought, you know, I thought, oh, do I really need to buy them? But they're paying off, they're really paying off, and I really just, the more I spend money on my self-improvement, the more I kind of think this is just, like, stupid not to. It's really stupid not to. And I find it rather silly that this kind of way that I'm spending, where I'm spending lots of money on things that are improving me, it kind of feels very frivolous to do. But then for me to buy a gram of Coke and go clubbing and spend 60 quid on drinks for a night that I'm not going to remember properly, you know, and spend the rest of the day hungover, you know, it's like, that's kind of seen as acceptable. But to buy a few books and an electric toothbrush, I somehow feel really kind of frivolous. You know, the idea that I wouldn't think twice about spending money on alcohol, or you know, just kind of, that's things that just have no benefit to me at all. You know, even in the moment, it's just fucking stupid, and you're not really, you know, it's not really worth it even in the moment, let alone when you're hungover the next day. But yet somehow a book, you know, an electric toothbrush, it's like, oh, you know, you sure about that? You sure you can afford that? It's like, I really think you just benefit if you grow out of that attitude. Because if you get stuck in that attitude, you just sort of stagnate, I think. And you just see the results of investing correctly, you know, using your money correctly in so quickly, you know. So I really can't stress this enough. I mean, one quote that I've used that's probably a bit silly, but it illustrates my point, is I say, if it's probably going to help me, I'll get it if it's probably going to help me, or if I can probably afford it. You know, if those two things are true, then I'll get it. you know. And that's just a great way to live, guys. It's a great way to live. And it really sort of, like, I know I'm kind of saying this as a student who doesn't work yet, you know. Like my parents give me some money, I've got a student loan. I have worked while I'm at university, but obviously like, a great amount of my income's not been directly me. So I don't understand, I'm coming from a certain perspective. But I do still just 100% like, I mean, I can only say it as one guy who's lived one life, but just for me, this sort of attitude of just spending on myself, it's just so worth it. It's so worth it. So obviously, like, you know, obviously like times are really tough at the moment with cost of living and everything. So like, I understand not everyone can have this luxury, but maybe if you're in a situation I'm in, you know, you're a student, you're kind of spending money on bullshit things you don't really need. Just start investing in yourself. You know, like, you have no rights. It's just, what are you doing spending money on, like, going out and drinking if you're also sort of being, if you're not willing to spend money on things that you can actually thank yourself for. You know, no one thanks for themselves for spending money on a really expensive club. I mean, obviously, like, you know, it's a good time with friends, but how many times have someone said, you know what, that club was really expensive, but I'm really glad we spent 10 quid to get in. You know, I spent 60 quid last night at a nightclub, but, you know, I'm really glad I spent all that money. Like, no one really says that. And yet, you know, how many times do you hear someone say, you know, I'm really glad I invested in myself and it paid off. I guess people don't really say that. But yeah, I just really think this is the way to go, guys. Yeah, and once you start spending in positive ways that actually benefit you, like just the idea of spending money in any other way just sort of disappears. So I really do recommend it. You know, like, sort of I was watching a Hamza video about this where he was saying about how he improves his sleep. And he was saying there's a sort of cold mattress you can get that sort of cools the beds to the perfect temperature for sleep. And it's about 2,000 quid to buy. But he said that's so worth it, like that's nothing, because it will improve your sleep by about 20 to 30%. Which, you know, for one purchase to improve your sleep is that's remarkably good value. Which, and like the idea of spending £2,000 on a mattress, like for most people that's just ridiculous, but I absolutely know where he's coming from, having started on a much smaller scale, kind of doing it for myself. You know, these things are so precious, like good sleep. Absolutely worth the money. Absolutely worth the money. And by the way, just before I go, like, investing in it doesn't have to be in sort of things like books or you know, things that are going to improve your sleep. It can literally be just like spending money on nicer clothes. Like, for some people that's not a problem, but I know for a lot of people they just don't really prioritise fashion. They don't really wear nice clothes. If you can have the balls to like just go out and spend a bit more money on some nicer stuff, like you never regret that. You really never regret that. You know, I've always been very anxious about buying new clothes because I thought, you know, that's a bit of money, do I really need it? But you never do. All you end up doing is like, yeah, I really need that, you know. Obviously there's a point where it becomes very materialistic, but I don't know, I see a lot of people who the opposite thing is true. So yeah, hope this video is helpful, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video.